am I? I'm Connor Parkin. I work as a technical lead at Sapient i7. I've got a few certifications, one of which is MuleSoft, and that's what I'm going to be talking about today. So I'm going to run you through from like right at the beginning all the way through to an end where you've got everything deployed and you're living the MuleSoft dream. So, yeah, let's start off nice and easily. What is an API? Anyone? Come on. What? Yeah. So it doesn't actually mention anything about it being over the internet or anything like that. It's just a way to connect with a program and work with it. But that's not really what we're going to be talking about today. It's REST API. So why are we talking about REST? It's very easy and lightweight to use, and it comes with lots of protocol. It comes with lots of verbs that you can use straight out of the box, which gives you a lot of easy use straight there, and status codes as well, which come back to let you know how everything's doing. So if you get a status code that begins with a 2, you know everything's okay. If you get a status code beginning with a 4, you know that you've done something wrong. If you get a status code beginning with a 5, then you know the server's done something wrong. So all of that functionality makes it really useful and easy to use. So, MuleSoft's vision. MuleSoft want you to use something called an API-led connectivity approach when building APIs. You can see there we've got 3 different layers of APIs. At the bottom we've got system APIs. Those abstract out the systems that sit underneath them and give you a nice, easy contract interface that sits on top of those systems. So as you can see at the bottom here, we've got all different shapes on the top of the different systems at the bottom. What that's saying is the way to connect to those systems is all completely different. But at the top of our system APIs, they're all uniform. So that is a contract that's been written for your system APIs so that accessing all of your objects is going to be the same. No matter what system it is that you're looking at, it's going to be the same when you're at a system API level. Going up above that, we've got process APIs. Process APIs take all of the good information that we're getting at the bottom and make something useful out of it. So you may have account customer in 3 of those different systems at the bottom, all of which holding very different information about them. What we're doing inside of the process API is stitching all that information together. So then you've got a full round view of your customer in the process API layer. Above that, we've got experience APIs, and experience APIs are where we're going to connect in. So at the top you can see we've got a phone, a web app, a smartwatch. All of those are going to have their own experience API, potentially. They might use the same, but that allows them to access the information below it in a way that they're easy. Have you ever been on the train? I'm hoping so, yeah. You know when you look at your phone and your phone says the train's delayed or the train's not coming, and then you look up on the screen and the screen says, oh, it's going to be here in a minute. Yeah, but that's because this isn't being done. So they're getting the information from different places, which then means it's a bad customer experience for everyone, and everyone's going, I don't know what I'm meant to be doing, what's happening. But if they have this architecture, that they will be getting the same information from those same process APIs, and everyone will be able to see the same thing. So, how is this different from like a SOA implementation or anything like that? The contracts that you build are built bottom up rather than top down. So the idea of that is that you start with the objects, the different accounts, project, functional areas, and get bigger from there. So you decide what's important to us as a consumer about our accounts, about our customers, and then you make those fields available. So rather than trying to get everything from every system, everywhere, inside of your contract, you just do it based on what you know you're going to need. So, how's that helpful? Once you build the contract at the top, you can pass that off to multiple different design groups, development groups, and they can start developing in parallel. So then you speed up the time it takes to develop these APIs. Here's a little bit of information about API-led connectivity. Can you read very quickly? Yeah, good, done. When using system APIs that we'll talk about earlier, it gets very easy for reuse and speeding up your development time. So in here we've got a scatter gather. We've got 3 different system APIs, and they're all using the same contract to get that account. So if you decide we're not going to use Salesforce anymore, we can just take it out and switch in a different CRM at this level, and you don't actually have to change all that much inside of the process API. So, how do we design an API in MuleSoft? So, languages that you can use. One is RAML. So this was originally developed by MuleSoft, but now is an open standard for you to use and sits separate to them. Or you can import OAS. If you've used Swagger or anything like that before, you could just import those into MuleSoft and it can convert it and you can start working with those. They provide the Anypoint Platform Design Center. So this is where you can go in and start building out your RAML files straight away. Like, it's nice and easy to do that. And they also provide a mocking service. So when you go in there and you're building it, you can click on your mocking service and it will start up the API straight from what you've written inside of the definition. So you haven't built anything yet, you've just designed, and you've got something there that's working that you can pass to developers and they can start working with it. It's nice. And finally, keep it RESTful. So it is RAML, which stands for RESTful API Modeling Language. So you better keep it RESTful. If you don't know what that means, you need to keep the names of your APIs to be nouns, and then to then do things on your nouns and pass to get things through URI parameters rather than query parameters as well. We will have a look at some of that. So, let's have a look at it. Inside of the Design Center, I'm going to click Start Designing. We've got 2 different things here. So API specifications and API fragments. API fragments are just reusable bits of data that you want to use across everywhere. And your API specifications is what the API actually looks like. So we're going to go in and have a look at the data types, which is this one. So, going to have a look at our Pokemon. We've got a few different properties. everyone see that? Or I've gone too big? Okay, so we've got a few different properties against our Pokemon. We've got a Salesforce ID, Pokemon name, and an example that sits underneath there. So I'm going to give it something else, which I'm just going to call HP for the moment. If we scroll this down at the bottom, you can see at the bottom here we're already being suggested what we want to put there as a type for that. And we've now got a little red squiggly line under our example, which tells us that we're missing the property that I've just defined at the top. So you always know the examples that you're putting in are going to be what you've defined. Okay, let's go back and have a look at what a full specification for an API looks like. So I'm just going to go in and have a look at my Salesforce system API. Again, it's a bit big, a bit small rather, but you can see inside of here we're including resource types. So those are what we defined before, and it allows you to use them very quickly. So further down here, you can see that we're just naming what we've named at the resource type at the top, so it becomes very easy to read. Or you can do as I've done here, and just create everything in line inside of this file. It becomes very big, very long, very hard to read, but you can do it, and it will help you through that process as you build that in. Okay, so that's designing it. You've designed it, you think everything. Missed the button in the top right. So over here, we've got a mocking service. So if you turn the mocking service on, we get a little build out here of what I've designed inside of the definition. So you can see we've got trainers, Pokemon, and trainers, Pokemon. If we go inside of Pokemon, we can see we've got a get and a post. And then again, being RESTful, we've got URI, which is trainers Pokemon ID. And we've got a get and a post on that as well. And we can see the responses that we're going to get back from that, if it's okay, and if it fails as well, with a little try inside of here. Yeah. So gone back too quickly, but what that gives you is a URL, which you can then use and fire stuff at, and it'll give you that response back as well. So it makes it easy to start the actual building process. Find it. Now we want to build it. So again, back in the design center, it gives you the possibility to build very easy flows. They're not production ready, but it is a nice way to wireframe things, and you can show stuff being built or queried from different systems. Then for the heavy lifting, we've got the Anypoint Studio. And then finally, you can deploy your APIs into either their own cloud, which is the MuleSoft Cloud Hub, or you can deploy it onto any other cloud that you want to. So if you want to deploy to AWS or onto your own server that you've got sat in your house, then you can do that as well. And all of it will be tracked inside of the Anypoint platform as well, no matter where you decide to deploy your API. So going back to our design center, if we click create and Mule application, we're going to create a new Mule application. So I'm going to give it a very imaginative name, new Mule app. And when we come through here, it's asking us where we want to start. So for this, we're going to start with a HTTP listener. So all this is the original REST call in to the flow, and we're going to go to Salesforce. Just going to query. So this is for if we're doing a get. So when we've set this up, you can see that we've got 3 different things set up in here. So we've got the HTTP listener, which is how we get the information into the flow. Then we've got the transform, which is data weave. So what this does is it transforms the message from what we receive in the endpoint to what we're going to be doing outside of this. And then we've got a query, which will query Salesforce and bring us back that information. After this, you could add extra transformations, etc. So on here, we could add another transform so that our data is coming back in the way that we want it. And once you've built all of that up, you can then deploy it to a cloud hub for this to be running and working in the way that you wanted, which is very nice, but the error handling on this is poor, so I wouldn't consider it production ready. So for this is very good for wireframing things. If we want to do anything more usable, that's where the Anypoint Studio comes in. So go in and have a look at our Anypoint Studio. Using our RAML that we created before earlier, we're going to go into File and create a new Mule project, which I'm just going to call this process for now. We're going to specify the RAML file that we created earlier on. So just click Finish on here. What you'll see is that this has already created a template for us inside of the Anypoint Studio. So at the top, we've got our API kit router. What that does is it routes all of the calls that come into this flow to our different Mule flows. And all of those Mule flows are sitting at the bottom here with transforms, etc. inside of there. So then you can go in and just build out these flows so that more things happen. You set payload for your return, do all of your other call outs to the different system APIs that you've got, etc. and have that returned back. So we're just going to go in and have a look at our process API. So process API is similar to same thing as what we had, but this flow has been built out. Inside of here, you can see it's got a scatter gather, which we were talking about earlier on, and we've got get Pokemons and get Pokemons again, obviously not named correctly. One of these we can see is for the Salesforce System API, and the other one is for Database 1 System API. So that's going to hold a certain set of information. Now this has been deployed to a Cloud Hub. So if I go into Postman and then run my get on there, we should have a response back. And we can see inside of here that we've got 3 different Pokemon. So Charizard, Ivysaur, and Bulbasaur, each of them with a separate Pokemon number and a bit of information about each one. So if we go back to our MuleSoft, our Anypoint Studio, and we remove this database 1, so I'm just going to remove that guy here. And I'm going to add in our database 2 with the same thing, so with our get Pokemons as well, which means that it's still using that same contract that we talked about earlier on that system API level. So we're going to use our database 2 config. If I save this, and now I'm going to publish this locally onto my machine. So rather than deploying it to the cloud for now, I'm just going to publish this locally. So if I run this, it does take a little while, but it would just bear with while that loads up. And once that's completed, we will see a deployed status at the bottom of there, which lets us know that everything has been deployed properly. So this has now got our database 2 on there, so it's looking at a different set of records. If we click Open Console on the left, it's going to open up similar to what we were looking at earlier, except for this time it's actually pointing to our machine. And if we click Try It, it's going to run that. It's going to run against that API that we've created inside of the Anypoint Studio. So I'm going to just click Send on here. And you'll see a response back. And you see the response back on this one is different to what we had before. So rather than Charizard, we've now got a Blastoise. And we've still got the information that we got from Salesforce before. So we've got different information being returned because we're using different system APIs at that level. And we've only had to change the process API out in the way that I've shown, which is nice and easy and quick. So if we have a look at our transform message, we can see inside of here that we are taking the payloads from both of our calls and we're flattening them into one big array, and we're saying that it's distinct by Pokemon number. So what you'll notice here is that I haven't gone in to have a look at anything else. I've not had to map anything. These are just methods that MuleSoft has to work with the payloads and produce something that you want to work with, and it's very simple, easy to use. Okay, so how do you go beyond? We're almost finished, I swear. I'm sorry if I'm sending you to sleep. But how do we go beyond? So once you've got them deployed into your Mule Cloud, you can add policies to your APIs. So this allows you to restrict who's going to be using your APIs. You can say, customer 1, you're a gold. Customer 2, you're a silver. And that means that the gold person can hit that API maybe 30 times in 1 minute, whereas our silver user can only hit that API 15 times in 1 minute. And you can make them pay to be able to have that access. You can also share your APIs. You can do that internally, or as I said, so if you've got a portal which you can share them out with to your customers and then make them pay to have access, or just give it to them for free because you're nice. You can also put it on the global exchange for everyone to be able to get access to, and your own internal org as well. So if you just want to share it internally inside of your company, then there's an exchange for that as well. You can also monitor all your APIs to see who's been hitting them, and it doesn't matter if they're on the cloud with MuleSoft, in their AWS, if they're on your own server, it still monitors all of those for you. And you can visualize your API network. So, last one. If we go back into here and go have a look at our visualizer, we can see which APIs are calling which other APIs. And this is based on the flow that's actually going into our API. So this isn't how it's meant to be written inside of there or anything like that. This is actually what's happening inside of your APIs. So once it's been done and it's all out there, you can say, hey, Mr. Developer, you've done that wrong. It was meant to be like this, but you're actually calling all of these other APIs that you shouldn't be doing. And we'll have a look, see if we can see something from inside of here. We should see a spike where I hit that API. So if you've got multiple on there, you can see how many times that's being called. etc. Thank you.